Earl Campbell, Heisman Trophy, Hall of Fame in college and also the NFL, two-time MVP, and also won a state title at John Tyler High School, joins us on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Smoak and Paul Catalina. Earl, everybody in the chat room, excited to have you join the show as we are all of the time. Thanks for your time. What does this Texas team, at least so far from what you've seen, what is different, if anything, or why, than they have been maybe the last 10 years?
I think it's because, and thank you for having me, but I think one of the big reasons is Sarkisian coaches finally got his guys and he wants to play for him.
Earl, they do seem to have more continuity and more togetherness than they have and confidence. From when you watch from afar, can you kind of tell when a team is playing that way as opposed to a team that's kind of playing a little bit scared?
Well, my oldest son Christian and I went to practice one night. They had it up on the practice field, and I told Christian right away. I said, "These guys look a lot different than the athletes we had in the past years," and I think that's because they have bought into what he's been trying to sell.
Earl, what have been your impressions of Sarkisian, just the high-flying offense, the explosiveness that they have? His play calling is, at times just brilliant. But what is it about him and just his personality that you've enjoyed or gotten to know over the last couple of years in Austin?
Well, I don't think he smothers you as a coach. I think he tells you. I think from what I can see, he shows you, and then he expects you to do it.
Earl, he, of course, was at Alabama, had a chance to kickstart his career with under Nick Saban. How special was that win, in your opinion, for UT, and especially the year before the SEC?
I think this, as Deion Sanders says, we're coming. I think that let them know that we can play with the SEC teams. I think last year he proved that, and this year, of course, being able to go down and get a win from Alabama, which is one of the big things in the SEC.
Earl,
I think that game put out a lot of encouragement to our fan base as well as our players.
Earl, Deion, you mentioned Colorado, and they have had an incredible start. Oregon coming up this weekend. You know him really, really well. Hall of Famers. You've spoken with him. You kind of got to know a little bit about Shedeur when he was younger. What he has done, could you ever imagine what he's done and how quickly he's done it?
Yes, because that was an individual that has done everything in sports that can be done. And I think because of that, and him having some experience of working with young people up in Dallas before he got to HBU school and anything, I think it was a dream of his to do what he wants. And once again, I believe because he's a positive thinking guy and he tells his players and they expect that he expects the best out of them.
Are we kind of maybe getting to see Deion Sanders that maybe other people got to see before? Because, when you're a fan of something, you kind of just see the guy in the uniform or the guy in the commercial. But Deion Sanders, the coach, is a little bit of a different animal, isn't he, Earl?
I think this tells us what kind of player and an individual he was as an athlete. And we now have the chance to see why Deion Sanders was so successful. And that's what he's trying to get his players to be able to look and see what I did. And this is how I did it. And I don't think you can say nothing but great things about it.
Earl Campbell with us, a Hall of Famer, college football, high school football, and, of course, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Just someone on the note here on our chat room was the greatest of all time. Nobody could stop that man. Absolutely not. He would run over you like a semi-truck, and, of course, you could run by people, too. There is a story right now in the NFL, Earl, about running backs. They're not getting paid. Teams are not committing to them after the first contract, and there's a lot of, tension here. You played the game as well as anyone could possibly play it. What are your thoughts about the value right now of running backs, even though there are still some elite running backs in the NFL?
I think this. I believe, though, if you think they can just throw that football on a regular basis, which they try to do, I believe you need a running back in the game of sports, especially in pro football, more than ever. Now, I think they try to downplay that because they're getting the ball to the split end and quarterback and throwing it everywhere. But when you get closer and closer to that goal line, I think if all of us can see that that's where a running back is needed.
What would you do if you were some of the younger running backs? There's even thoughts that they've thought about acting like they're hurt. You never had to act. You gave out a beating, and you also at times took the hits too.
Well, the way I played football was because that's the style of the game that fit me. I couldn't do nothing about how it affected Franco Harris or Tony Dorsett. They was different kind of runners, but I knew what I had to do. I had my style, and my style was, I guess, a little bit like Jim Brown. Everybody says that.
Earl Campbell with us on 365 Sports here on a Wednesday afternoon. Back to what UT is doing. They play Baylor. I know that you were a part of that rivalry. I know UT is dominated, but there have been some upsets along the way, and there's been times when Baylor had the edge. Your thoughts about Texas and Baylor this weekend in Waco?
I tell you, as long as I played for Darrell Royal and Fred Akers, that game right there was one of the hardest games we ever. I don't know what it is about playing Baylor down there. And we was hot just like this UT team is. But Baylor always brought it to play when they played against us, the Longhorns.
I've asked you this before. You ended up at Austin. It worked out really great for you. But was Baylor one that was close to also getting your commitment, you playing in Waco?
Well, I think that they hired Fred Akers, and that's who coached me in high school. I mean, Corky Nelson,
right,
who coached me in high school. I don't know. I was built for UT. I wanted that, and I lucked up on it. God bless me, and I got that. But coming to Baylor, I mean, that was one thing, but I think the right place was Texas for me.
No, it ended up, no question about it. You went through some adversity early on in college. You had to get past an injury, the change of the offense. In this day and age, Earl, with what players can do with the transfer portal, you would have always ended up in Austin. But what are your thoughts about players being able to leave the way they do now?
I think that could be good and bad to a player. As far as I'm concerned, if you had a place and you leave, I mean, I couldn't dream of leaving UT when I came here. That was the team and that was the school. But seeing these kids jump all over the place, I'm worried about how educational. What is the education they're doing?
Earl, how do you feel about the players finally being able to make money off their own name, which could have been huge for a guy like you in Austin?
I tell you what, the money I paid for my mother's house, I believe I could have saved that and paid for it out of college money instead of pro money. But I think it's good that players are getting paid. I mean, the NCAA, that makes so much money. Why not?
Have you ever stopped for a second and wondered the value? You mentioned that you would have bought Mama Campbell her house earlier, but is there any idea that you would have been just almost unlimited with your value of what you brought out of high school and what you did at UT?
Well, I think there was a bit of conversation that would have been good. I mean, I look at Deion Sanders' son making $6.5 million. I sometimes wonder what the hell would I have made if that would have been in back then.
Hey, what was your thought? And I believe it might have been either Tyler or Christian that said, hey, you need to watch the documentary of Johnny Manziel.
I tell you what a great athlete that was unfortunate that all the things happened to him. I believe if Johnny Manziel had been sent to Texas, not talking about the Aggies down there, Texas A&M, I respect him a great deal. I just believe it would have been a foundation laid for Manziel, and people would have expected things out of him, and I don't think it would have turned out that way. One of them had to go, either Johnny or the university, and I don't think the University of Texas is going anywhere. So Johnny, I mean, I don't know. It was just amazing to watch that. I think what you saw in there, if I could be really honest with you, I think you saw what players what not to do once they get in high school or college.
And the temptations of fame and money?
Yes. I think everything has its place. You have to know that, you know, if you're going to make a decision and make that kind of money or do that kind of thing, you got to be able to have some pride and respect about yourself.
You have a lot of things named after you now, Earl. There's the statue at DK Royal Memorial Stadium that was long overdue. There's the Expressway in Tyler. There's the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. There's the Earl Campbell Field at the high school stadium. At one point, none of that was there, and you once told me that you told your family that if none of that was up, if in fact you were to leave this earth, that you didn't want anybody to honor you after you left. Do you think, and we played that interview a long time ago, that had an amazing impact on a lot of people. Are you looking back now happy with where things are with you?
I'm very happy with my life. I got 6 grandchildren. I got 2 grown boys. I got 2 daughter-in-laws. My life is perfect for me. I mean, I don't have any gripes.
Can you try to describe to people who have never been to your man cave, so to speak, the memorabilia you have on the wall around the TV flat screens from a bunch of other great players around the NFL?
Well, I think one of the very first autographs I got, and I was embarrassed to ask this guy, was Jabbar for the Lakers. And then I had a chance to be around the great Jim Brown and Bill Russell. I mean, I just wanted to be among the greats, and that way, one day I can look back and maybe somebody say they got that from me.
Yeah, and we have, Garrett, don't you have an Earl Campbell jersey that's signed?
Oh, yeah. No, my friend in Longview gave me that Earl Campbell, that white Oilers jersey. Man, it's clean, Earl.
Oh, thank you. Hey, Smoak, I hate to leave, and
okay.
I'm in a situation I have to leave now, but thank you all for having me. I hope Baylor University and the University of Texas be great competitors in the years to come, and I thank all you listeners for being Earl Campbell fans. Thank you.
Thank you, Earl. We love you, man. Earl Campbell, pro football, college football, high school football, Hall of Famer, and obviously he was on his way somewhere, and we